my dear learners. Today we're going to talk about conditionals. What do we mean when we say conditionals? Okay, so when we say conditionals, these are what we call the if clause. They describe the result of something that might happen. It may be in the present or future, or might have happened but didn't in the past. Let us read the following verses. If I were a tree, I would comfort you with my shade. Number 2, if I were the moon, I should soothe away your fears. Now, these two sentences are composed of dependent and independent clause. You might be asking, Ma'am, what is dependent and independent clause? Okay, let's talk about dependent clause first. Dependent clause is a type of clause that cannot stand alone. It is also known as the subordinate clause. The type of clause that cannot stand alone, meaning we cannot use them as a simple sentence. In the first sentence, the dependent clause is, if I were a tree. And if we are trying to remove the other parts of the sentence, which is, I would comfort you with my shade, do you think it is still a complete sentence? Of course not. It seems that there is a missing part. That is why they are called dependent clause. They cannot stand alone. How about in sentence number 2? What do you think is the dependent clause? Correct. The answer is, if I were the moon. Of course, the remaining part of the given sentences are what we call your independent clause. What do we mean when we say independent clause? It is a type of clause that can stand alone. It is also known as the main clause in a complex sentence. Okay, so as I have said a while ago, the remaining part of these sentences is what we call your independent clause. So for number 1, the independent clause is, I would comfort you with my shade. And in number 2, I should soothe away your fears. Okay? So now we are now ready to discuss what is conditionals or what are conditionals. There are actually different types of conditionals. Let us first discuss the first type of conditionals. What is it? Okay, number 1, we have the present real conditional. What do we mean when we say present real conditional? It is also called as conditional 0. It is used to talk about what you normally do in real life situation. Real life, meaning yung nangyayari. Okay? From the word real, we can say that it actually happens. Okay? So how do we form the present real conditional? The pattern is if or when plus the simple present of the verb that is in the dependent clause. And for the independent clause, we have the simple present tense of the verb. Or we can have it interchange it. We can interchange it. We write first the independent clause and then the if or the when, if or when, and then the simple past for the dependent clause. Just like the given examples. Number 1, when I go to a friend's house for dinner, I usually drink a cup of coffee after eating. So you see, this is present real because it happens. You go to your friend's house for dinner and what you usually do when you go there. Or it can also be on the other way. I usually drink a cup of coffee after eating when I go to a friend's house for dinner. Okay. Ma'am, what is the difference between the use of if and when? Okay, remember, the use of if and when, or both if and when can be used in the present real conditional. Only using if suggests that something happens less frequently. And using when suggests that something happens regularly. So when we say less frequently, not always. Okay, not always. Sometimes, maybe we can say that sometimes because it's not always. Okay? Examples. Number 1. When I have a day off from work, I usually go to the park or to park. Oh, she used, or the person or the speaker used the word when, meaning it happens regularly. Every day off, he or she goes to the park. How about number two? If I have a day off from work, I usually go to park. If, meaning less frequent, no? Not regular day off. Maybe she can have a day off one day within a week or on the next week, wala. Okay, so that is irregular or less frequent. Okay, let's try. What do you do when it rains? Okay, we'll try to answer that. What do you do when it rains? For me, when it rains, I always use my big umbrella. When it rains, it happens regularly. Okay? But if I'm going to answer, if it rains, I usually use my big umbrella. What's the difference between the two? Maybe the first one, it happens during rainy season because it always rains. Okay? How about in number two? Maybe it happens or the situation happens in summer when there is less frequent rain. Okay? How about you? What do you do when it rains? Okay? It's your answer. Okay? Now, how about the present unreal conditional? So when we say present unreal conditional, it is used to talk about what you generally do in an imaginary situation. Unreal, from the word unreal, meaning it doesn't or it did not happen. It is only in our imagination. So parang, what if? Okay? So how do we form it? We have the if and when, the simple past, and then the would plus the verb or the base form of the verb, or would plus verb plus if plus the simple past. Example, if I owned a car, I would drive to work. Ma'am, how come that it is past unreal? On my part, it is past unreal. Why? Because I do not have car. So, if it happens, if I owned a car, then I would drive to work. Okay? Number two, I would read more if I didn't watch so much TV. So, it did not happen because you watch TV. Okay? Okay, so you notice the simple past, the if, and then the simple past, owned, and then to be followed by would plus the base form of the verb. In number two, we write first the would, and then the base form of the verb, and then the simple past tense in the next part of the sentence. Okay? Okay. So let's try. What would you do if you won the lottery? Oh, that is past unreal. Why? Because we do not bet on the lottery. And today, it is illegal. No? There is no lottery at this time. So it is past unreal. Okay, if I would answer that, it will be, if I won the lottery, I would buy a house and lot. How about you? If you won a lottery, what would you do? Okay, so you just follow the given patterns and you will not be lost. Okay, so if you have any questions, you don't hesitate to send me a text or send me a private message so that I can help you with your lessons. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. Good luck and keep safe. Bye.